How much a solar power system costs depends on how many panels and batteries are being purchased and installed, and most homes don't need batteries, leaving just the cost of the panels. We'll give an example of the real cost of a solar system at the end of this video, but first, we've got to discuss the other major factor that affects the cost of a solar power system, the tax breaks. Now, before we get into them, let me be very clear that we are not legal or tax advisors, and whether you qualify for the tax breaks we're about to discuss should be reviewed and decided by you and your CPA or tax professional. That being said, most investors qualify, and there are even alternative cost-saving options for those who don't. The US government has some extremely generous tax breaks that they offer for installing solar on a property. First and foremost is the Federal Investment Tax Credit, or FITC for short. Not to be confused with the federal income tax credit that the government offers homeowners who put solar on their homes. The federal investment tax credit currently offers investors a tax credit of 30% on their solar system's cost. Here's how it works. If an investor purchases a solar power system that costs $30,000, they're given a tax credit for 30% of that system cost, or $9,000. So if they owed taxes of, say, $20,000 on the profit generated by their business, they'd be able to keep $9,000 of it instead of paying it in taxes, thereby reducing the amount they'd pay in taxes to just $11,000. Even if there's not enough profit year one to take advantage of the tax credit, it can be rolled forward the next few years until it can be taken advantage of. Long story short, for any investor who qualifies, the federal investment tax credit reduces the cost of a solar power system by 30%. Additionally, as of 2023, the US government introduced 2 more tax breaks for real estate investors who install solar power systems on their property. These additional tax breaks are both part of the government's Low-Income Communities Bonus Credit Program. The first states that if you're a real estate investor who owns property in certain low-income or economically harmed areas, you can potentially qualify for an additional 10% off the cost of your system, in the form of an additional 10% federal tax credit. Coupled with the 30% federal investment tax credit, this could potentially bring the total cost of your system down by 40%. These low-income or economically harmed areas exist in all 50 states, and we're happy to help you figure out if your property is in a qualifying area and assist you in applying for this tax break if you qualify. The second tax break states that if you rent to certain low-income tenants, like those who receive a housing subsidy from Section 8 or a similar housing assistance program, or if you're building out a qualified low-income economic benefit project, you can potentially qualify for yet another 10% discount on the cost of your system in the form of another 10% tax credit. If you qualify for all 3 of the tax breaks listed so far, you can potentially bring down the cost of your system by a full 50%. In other words, you can potentially get your system for 50% off. Again, we're happy to help you figure out if you rent your property to qualifying tenants and assist you in applying for these tax breaks if you qualify. Now that we're through the tax breaks, let's talk about what a typical single-family rental solar power system would cost before we discuss how much money the system can make you, which we'll discuss in the next video. While buying a new rental property can cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, a solar power system usually costs under $50,000, and most come in well under that. For example, let's say we design a system that costs $30,000 before applying the tax break. In this example, the 30% federal investment tax credit means the government would effectively cut you a check at the end of the year for $9,000, thereby reducing the system cost to just $21,000. If you qualify for one of the additional 10% low-income community bonus federal tax credits, that would reduce the cost of the system by another $3,000 each, meaning if you qualified for both, you'd save an additional $6,000 on your system, bringing the cost down to just $15,000. But remember, the size and cost of a system depends on a variety of factors that are specific to your property. So to get a true estimate for your system, you'll need to give us your property address and ideally the last 12 months of utility bills. If you currently have a tenant in the property where you're considering solar, we can request the last 12 months of bills from your tenant directly by having them give us access to their billing history. That way, neither of you have to chase down the bills. To request a custom proposal from us, click the Schedule a Call link in the navigation bar at the top of our site. In the next video, we're going to be discussing the 4 different ways that you can make money by offering solar to your tenants. For you as a landlord, this will probably be the most exciting video of the series, so be sure to stick around and check it out.